Yo, how's it going, guys? Welcome to my planche progression video. This was only for a month, only because I wanted to see how fast and just to see how much progress would be done in a month. I had prior experience with doing planches, but I never really had them to a T. The challenge was 30 for 30. That just means that it was 30 reps of the skill for 30 days. I've learned a lot, quite a lot. I've had injury during the 30 days. I was sick and just had a lot going on because I'm busy with work and whatnot. Admittedly, a few of the days I didn't do them. I rested or I was just too sick to do them, so I didn't do them that day. It ended up helping me out in the end, I think, more than it hurt me. Let's walk through it now. For the first few days, I was very on top of it. I was more so focusing on the technique of it because, as people may or may not know, you want to keep straight arms, so that means we gotta lean as much as you can forward in order to hit like the perfect technique for the planche. But the first few days, I wanted to make sure that my technique was good, my lean was good. I have strength to do it, so it wasn't like I was coming from all the way from the bottom. But it was definitely still a struggle to find the right balance and just get my body to adjust to the body shape I had to make. And so it was really uncomfortable for my shoulders because I just had bad shoulders, I guess. Despite all the stuff I do, certain positions are uncomfortable for them or not up intensely, so it gets super sore. And then that's what ended up happening near the middle of the month, and it wrecked me, and I had to take a break for a second. And then I ended up trying to do some progression, so like pseudo push-ups and just working on that lean more. Not to the point where it would hurt, because sometimes it would hurt, and then I'd like cut the 30 reps short to however much I ended up doing that day, just to, you know, not injure it more than it already is. But I wanted to make sure I had the technique down. The pseudo push-ups really helped because it engaged more muscle than just isometrically working out my shoulder. Near, I think around day 18, 19, 20 was when I got sick. And so I tried doing a few reps at least, and at least posting that on my Instagram story. But as much as I could do, I just didn't have the energy. I wanted to make sure that I was not gonna push myself and get hurt more, because I was still kind of recovering from injuring my shoulder. Even after I was done being sick, I still felt like I needed a rest. Leading up to 30, I started to go right back into it, but more so progressions again, just to make sure I'm ready for those hardcore isometric holds, because it was still kind of sketching me out with my shoulder. My shoulder would still get sore and whatnot. It's still a little sore even now, but it's feeling way better. So whenever I started my planche progressions, I decided to start them on the parallettes, just to take pressure off my wrists and really pay attention to the lean of it, because it's important for us to lean forward, or else it's just impossible to do a planche. It's very lean forward, shoulders are in front of your hands. Your hands gotta be more towards your waist, so that way you have that leverage. And at that point, it's still a lot of muscle, but balancing really comes into play too. And it also helped build my shoulder muscles, especially on the inside, just for the isometric holds. I would also play around with tuck planche push-ups though. Wanted to make sure that I was doing them right first. I paid attention to the technique of it in tucked form. Day 2, I believe, I decided to try and do an advanced tuck. Try to hold those the goal was 5 seconds. I would hold them around that time, so I felt pretty good about myself. I practiced them prior to doing this challenge, but they were never really there. I could never do a full straddle, just straight line, parallel to the ground, but I still had the arm strength to at least progress through the beginning phases pretty fast. After that, I did more of the advanced tucks, still holding those for around 5 seconds or a little less, depending on how fast I go back into it. But yeah, it definitely probably added up to the strain I put my shoulders underneath, and which resulted in some shoulder injury. But regardless, I was still doing more isometric stuff. I think once in a while I would go from handstand lower down, but those were never that strong. I wouldn't get to parallel, especially when I tried to do it from advanced tuck. It just would not work. So I decided to just stick with this isometric holds for the most part. Leading up to getting injured and feeling the full strain in especially my left shoulder, I tried doing the tuck planches and advanced tuck planches on the ground, flat hand. That definitely escalated the shoulder problems I had in hindsight, but it's definitely a learning lesson. So when I got injured, I took some time off. I stretched as much as I could, stretched out my shoulders. It was just really painful to stretch them out. I tried rolling them out, massaging them myself, so that way I could at least feel some relief. It was so painful. I have some crazy knots still in my shoulder right now. I can't remember how many days I ended up resting, but that also led into me getting sick too. So I was sick for a few days, so I ended up not doing it during that time too, so that way I can focus on getting over that. And I guess it just gave me more of a reason to rest longer. So I guess it was a good thing. Whenever I started to feel better, I decided to try and do some more planche work, and it felt better. I definitely felt better going back into it. I started with tucks, and then I started with pseudo push-ups too, and it felt pretty good. So I did advanced, and that felt good too. So I got back into straddle after I was done being sick. So they weren't as strong, but they felt pretty good still. The day 29, I was at open gym, and my brother and my roommate were doing handstand 2 planches. So I decided to try it out, and whenever I had gone for it, it worked out really nicely. I went for it and went pretty slow. I had a little trouble leaning for a second, but I was hitting them pretty nicely. My hips were still poking up a little bit, but for the most part, I would hold it for like 3 seconds. So it was pretty significant gain from after being injured and sick. And then day 30, I was afraid I was not going to be able to do it again just because my arms were sore. But after warming up and doing some other things, I jumped into it, and it came out pretty nice. I didn't hold it for as long as I want to, but my body shape was pretty good. I corrected it at the last second, and that's when it started to get obviously significantly harder. And it was straddle, so it wasn't a full-on straight legs together planche, but it is definitely a noticeable and significant upgrade from what I've started, because I have never been able to hold a good shape from handstand going down to planche, and I've never been able to go fully parallel with the ground without having to bend my arms or pick my hips up really high. So it was definitely a very awesome moment for me. I felt really proud of myself. So the important things I've learned from this experience that you guys can take into consideration whenever you are practicing whatever skill you may be going towards. The lesson that I've learned is definitely rest periods between reps gotta be longer, and focusing on clean form. Thankfully, I focused a lot on the form of it, so it was definitely less strain on my shoulders than it probably could have been. My second learning lesson is cutting up my 30 reps into different variations leading up to that skill. So I had cut my 30 reps into three sections. One is isometric, which is just doing the skill, holding the skill in a hold. The second 10 would be a push-up variation of that, so I would do pseudo push-ups. My third set of 10 would be drilling down the technique of it, so that was just, instead of doing the full-on planche, I would keep my feet on the ground and be on my toes and work on the lean part, so that way my shoulders are still getting the workout for the isometric holds, but it's less intense. My third lesson is definitely recovery from doing the skills. I know from planche it's very demanding. I know skills differ. My third lesson is definitely recovering from the skills that I practice. So for planche, I definitely should have iced my shoulders or massaged them and stretched them a lot more in order to relieve them and just take care of them. I also learned that just doing flat out 30 planches is a day for 30 days. It's not really feasible without wrecking your shoulders to a point. It's also hard because maybe you're too busy to do the full-on 30 like I was. For some of the times I would just come home late and I just did not want to do them, but I ended up doing some of them at least, and then I would just call the night just because I was just so tired. So as you can probably tell, this was not scripted. I definitely should have, but I went for it anyways, especially with this kind of talking to the camera thing. It can be uncomfortable. It is uncomfortable, but I'm gonna try and do it more often because I want to do more progression videos. If you have a certain request for a skill, I'm more than happy to consider it. I'll just leave it in the comments below. If you found this helpful, or if you see my progression throughout the whole process, just go ahead and leave a like then. Subscribe. I want to be able to reach out to more people and just connect with more people too, to get more advice on what I can do to help my progressions for various skills. I'm into calisthenics, parkour, free running, breaking, and tricking. So if you are in any of those fields, definitely leave a comment or hit me up and give me some advice. I'm open to all of it. Also, I post a lot on Instagram, so go ahead, follow me. My link will be down in the description, and it'll probably be an easier way to connect with me as well. All right, well, you guys have a great day, and I'll see you guys later.